Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it's worth. Let's get this merch. Subscribe to the PDH Network. Coming to you with another edition of Money Mention Mondays. Now today, the topic of discussion is going to be talking about the value of Paper Route Empire, the late Young Dolph's P.R.E. label. And so, with the passing of Young Dolph and condolences to him and his family, friends, and fans, with his passing has come a lot of deliberation regarding his estate, regarding any of his business dealings that he had established before passing. And among the most prominent of those business dealings is his P.R.E. label. And so today we're going to talk about kind of estimating what the value of his P.R.E. label could be at this point. And so just to break things down to the bare bones, first and foremost, let's consider who all is on the P.R.E. label. So who's a part of Paper Route Empire? Their artists include, of course, the late, great Young Dolph. In addition, Key Glock, Big Moochie Grape, Kenny Money, Jay Fizzle, Jody Badass, Snoop Bands, Paper Route Woo, Kitana, and Big Unk. And so those are all the different artists on Paper Route Empire. And, that's a pretty hefty roster. And it is definitely recorded and well known that Young Dolph hand selected every single one of those artists. And of course, Key Glock being his family member, going back way further back in time and being related. But every single one of the artists on P.R.E. was handpicked by Young Dolph. And so with that said, it is important to kind of realize how precious this label is. And all of those artists, I'm sure, are bringing different things to the table that Young Dolph envisioned. I've heard all of these artists in one way or another, their music, and they all are very diverse and very talented as well. And so there's lots of different revenue streams that P.R.E. is bringing in. And so let's talk about those different revenue streams. So, first and foremost, just starting with some of the more low-hanging fruit is Paper Route Empire merch. And so they do have quite a bit of merch that's on sale. And this includes hoodies, t-shirts, hats, and, all of the different designs on the different merchandise. It can vary. It can be, basic P.R.E. logo on it. But a lot of the cool ones are like where it has the, paper route, the boy, delivering the money like he on a paper route. You have the Dumb and Dumber album cover on a lot of different merch. That's been really popular. In addition, I like that the merch is sold to both men and women. And so they have a lot of nice, versatile merch on sale. And more recently, some of the merch designs have included, the wings around some of Young Dolph's pictures and in commemoration of his passing. And so that is kind of breaking down what merch is going on within the P.R.E. label. And, all of these items are the average cost of hoodies, t-shirts, hats, in the range of the $15 for, things like hats, all the way up to $30 and $40 for hoodies. And so, of course, that's going to be bringing in some pretty good revenue. And then moving right along, let's consider touring. And so touring, we know, is a really big revenue stream for any label. And so very recently, Key Glock announced that he's going to be going on his Yellow Tape tour. And so his Yellow Tape tour is going to be nationwide, spanning 33 dates with shows on, all the different coasts. He's going to be featuring, songs from his Yellow Tape album, his Yellow Tape 2 album, and a lot of different other hits that he has in his catalog. So that's going to be starting April 4th and ending May 20th. And so let's talk about the revenue from this tour alone, just to get an idea. And so ticket prices are ranging from anywhere from $80 to $400 on this specific tour. And in looking at the venues and what the people capacity is, like the person capacity for each of the venues, it's about an average of like 2,000 people that most of these venues can hold. And so if we kind of break that down, let's break down those numbers. So, like we said, ticket sales are anywhere from $80 to $400. So let's just pick the median. So let's pick $200 per ticket, just to get the kind of the average, the middle, just to kind of do some calculations here. So $200 per ticket, just as an average, to average that out. And then let's multiply that times 2,000 seats per show. Okay. And so that calculation is equaling to $400,000 in revenue per tour date. Okay. And that's just us taking the average. Now, of course, some of those sales could be a little lower and some could be a lot higher. But if we consider $400,000 in revenue per tour date, in addition to that there are 33 dates on this one tour, that would be a revenue of $13.2 million. And so, of course, there are a lot of other things we have to consider, right? Because we're crunching numbers just based on overall revenue. Okay, so $13.2 million for the entire tour is not the baseline of exactly what P.R.E. label is going to generate off of that tour. What we have to consider is that there's going to be lots of touring expenses to take into account. So as we know, there's going to be, hotel expenses, artist expenses, as far as making sure that, they have their wardrobe together, that they, if they have a stylist, if there's different people for the lighting and the sound, and there's a hype man or DJ. So there's lots of other different elements to consider. Paying the venues, if there's kind of different people involved, they have to be paid as well. We know there's lots of different moving parts when it comes to an artist and making all of this happen on tour. Even the cost of the different sets on tour. So there's lots of different expenses that would be deducted ultimately from this $13.2 million. However, just even when we consider what's coming out maybe in the front end, what's coming out on the back end, even if we cut that $13.2 million in half, that is still very, very impressive of revenue to be getting from one tour. And so it just gives us a glimpse into what even one P.R.E. tour can generate, which is excellent. Another revenue stream that's a lot more obvious would be album sales, right? And so album sales, there are so many different things to consider, but let's just break down what albums have come out so far this year. And so earlier in January, we all know that Long Live Young Dolph album, the LLD album, dropped. In February, later on this year, Kenny Money's album Time Is Money dropped. Also Key Glock's Yellow Tape 2 Deluxe dropped. And it's reported that Yellow Tape 2 Deluxe album sold 35,000 units just in the first week. So we can definitely assume that album sales is another, high revenue stream for the P.R.E. label. And just overall, this is very impressive to consider. And we have to remember that all of this is without major label backing. And all of this is with everyone joining in and taking that money and hopefully reinvesting into the label. So this has been another edition of Money Mention Mondays. We're just going to continue to take a look at things and see how things progress. And as always, y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it's worth. Let's get this merch. Subscribe to the PDH Network.